return again. This captivity ain't permanent, no. I'm from Jerusalem. Hey, we'll return again. This captivity ain't permanent, no. Sitting on
Salama family, shalom, habari, za usiku, because it's nighttime here on the continent. Hope everyone is well. This is Brother Tour of Stepping Stones of Home. Of course, I've got my lovely wife here with me.
I'm Isha G. Salama, everyone.
How y'all doing? How y'all doing tonight? I hope daytime over there for our family over in the U.S. right now. Hope everyone is doing well. Hope everyone is staying safe. Thank you guys for joining us about should we be segregating on the continent. So I've got two special guests with me tonight who are going to be joining us to talk about how things are here on the continent between the diaspora and the continental Africans. So I'm going to bring on from one of our favorite channels, Keeping Up with the Africades, our brother Mikael Ben Or. Shalom, my brother. How you doing tonight?
Hey, shalom, shalom, family. Shalom to the family scattered across the four corners of the earth. I bid you all shalom, shalom, shalom alaikum. Appreciate you
Hallelujah.
all having us on.
Hallelujah. Now we're going to bring on another special guest, Brother Miles Carter. Brother Miles, go ahead and say shalom, everybody.
Hey, shalom, everybody. What's happening? What's going on?
So, like you guys saw, the title of this video, Segregation on the Continent. Now, I know there's been videos put out on YouTube about people having bad experiences, some of the diaspora having bad experiences with the locals here, a lot of clashing, things going on between the diaspora and the immigration with trying to get their visas, getting residency, different things. So we're going to be talking about that tonight. And we talk about a few other things. So what I want to do first is, Brother Mikael, I know that you yourself, you've been to a couple, two, I know for sure, African countries. What was your experiences like when you went to those countries, meeting the continental Africans and how they received you, how you were treated? Go ahead and tell us a little bit about that.
So I've been to Ghana. I went to Ghana for almost about 2 weeks. Lived in Tanzania for a year. We still got our things over there as well. And then I also was almost a month in the land, what they call the land of Israel today, which is considered Northeast Africa, for almost a month. So I'm gonna start with Ghana because I think that was like my breakthrough, of really understanding the African, continent and understanding the countries and how the people move. So when I first got to Ghana, I mean, it was everything you can imagine coming home. Drums playing, getting picked up, and we got there during the daytime, so we got to actually see the city. Different than when we came to Tanzania. We didn't get out the airport due to, TSA and all that stuff. We didn't get out to like 9, 10 p.m. So we didn't even get to really see the city when we first came in. So it was a different feeling coming in. But nonetheless, dealing with the people, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's almost the same. This the same struggles they go through, the same hustle they have. They greeting you. Welcome home, brother. Welcome home. We're glad you're back. It's still that sense of lack of understanding of what really happened, even and believe it or not, even in Ghana, and they have the slave castles there. They still lack what really happened. They have the stories. Don't get me wrong, but to embody what really happened and understanding why we're coming home, that understanding is still, not all the way there. So of course, it's that having to bridge that gap type of situation going on, the same thing that we were dealing with and are dealing with in Tanzania. So I think my experience in Ghana and really, getting you know, as they would call getting wet, prepared me for Tanzania. So what I saw in Tanzania was not a surprise. You see what I'm saying? Now it was a little bit different because Tanzania is not as developed, and what I mean the developed meaning the criteria, the system is not as developed as Ghana. So they're more rural. It's still more raw and organic in Tanzania versus Ghana, who's had major development, because as we know, Ghana was the first liberated country from colonization when it came to the African country. So they had more time than most to really start developing their country. So, you know, that I would say that was the different experience for me, having that more rural and raw and rugged and just really going through those issues. I'll give you an example, and we all been through this. What we experienced in Tanzania, so much consistency with electricity, it wasn't that much in Ghana as it was in Tanzania. Whereas, you know, we had issues with water. It wasn't that many issues in Ghana either. Not to say they don't have any issues. It's just they have a more developed system because they have more time of freedom than Tanzania to develop things and fix those problems before my time of coming in. So I would say, you know, my experience has been well, and it really made me appreciate more who I am, you know, because I mean, just imagine for those who may not ever been to an African country, seeing your face on a dollar. I don't mean like your literal face, but somebody that looks like you on the dollar. The president looks like you. The government looks like you. The police look like you. That's a whole culture shock within itself, and it gives you a sense of pride and appreciation. So I would say that was really my experience of just really understanding how important and special we are.
Hallelujah. So, Brother Miles, I know you're in North Carolina right now, but you came to Tanzania via Jamaica. So why don't you tell us what your experience was like when you came here to Tanzania?
I'd say initially it felt a lot like it did in Jamaica. There's a lot of similarities there. And so I felt at home, you know, just like culturally, like I felt like I was back where I grew up, you know. And even the way in which like people received me, like at first it was like it was very kind. And I mean throughout it was very kind. So I'd say like I had a good kind of coming in experience. When I came, like I didn't know anybody, so I literally just had an Airbnb, and I only knew my Airbnb host, and he introduced me to like his sister, his friends, like his lawyer friend, like anything I needed, he was willing to like, you know, connect me. And I realized from that, like how communal people were in Tanzania as opposed to what I experienced in more modern Jamaica, and even definitely in the States. You know, I realized that people really operate on a collective level more than an individual level. And so I think coming in initially, that showed me from the jump that like the only way I was going to really make it here or getting anything done was by, you know, forming relationships and building relationships with people. So yeah, I'd say my initial experience was very, very good. I'd say I learned a lot in like the first week just because I just landed on the ground and just let everything come to me as it would.
Right. So, greetings to you both. I'm glad you guys are on the channel tonight, but I'm glad that you guys had some positive experiences, right? Because we do hear a lot of negativity here from a lot of the diaspora. And honestly, one of the reasons why I wanted to start like this talk is because I feel like a lot of the diaspora, they're putting a bad taste in a lot of people's minds when it comes down to returning to the continent. And I mean, we can clearly see with everything that's going on over there, America is not a long-term
Solution.
Right, solution. So I don't want our brothers and sisters to get the wrong idea about the continent, but at the same time, I do want to be realistic about the continent and how we should approach the continent. So one of the things I've heard a lot is that the diaspora, we need to just have our own things. We need to just have our own areas. We need to have our own businesses and only deal with each other and not deal with the locals. And I know a lot of that is based on some of the things that they have experienced here on the continent. Now, I'm gonna just give my opinion really quickly before I ask you guys. I personally don't feel that that is the Most High's will for us to be completely segregated. Now, I understand we are two different people. We can't expect for us to be alike or have the same culture, act the same. We can't expect that because we are very different. However, we are coming to, it's our home, but it's their home, right? And so I don't think that it is the right thing to do when you're coming into somebody else's house for you to completely segregate yourself and not want to deal with that person. You know, so for me, I feel like we need to, instead of wanting to go that route, I think we need to work towards finding a solution so that we can actually cohabitate together as diaspora and locals. So I'm gonna start with you, Brother Mikael. What are your thoughts on that?
I think those who say we should have our own are right, but I also think you are right. And this is why I say that. It's like this, and I'm going to use biblical understanding with this. When it comes to a man and a woman, right, you have something called courtship. Once you go through that courtship of getting to know one another, we know in culture, because we see this in Tanzania, a man pays something called a dowry, right? But a lot of the times people don't understand that that woman also, from her side of the family, specifically from that father, gifts that man's family. So why am I saying that? It's because we should build our own things and have our own things, because when we come to them and say, look, this is why we should unite, we have something to bring to the table. You see what I'm saying? So I always use this understanding is you can't go clean the porch before you clean in the house first. So there's things as diaspora that we have to heal from first. We have to understand. That does take us getting to understand our brothers and sisters within their system. See, we can't come in like the colonizer trying to change everything. Now, can we say, okay, this can improve and let's make it better? Yes. But to try to totally change it is totally wrong. And a lot of times we're changing it, we don't even realize, because we're so subconsciously programmed within that oppressive system that we don't even realize most of the suggestion that we're giving is coming from an oppressive mindset. And that's why I said we got to first heal first, then be able to build our own structures and say, look, y'all, let's unite our structures together. But we can't sit here and come to them and try to integrate it, and because it can come off as a taking thing. It can come off like we're trying to take. And yeah, this is the land of our ancestors. You should give us this. You should give us that. You know, let us implement in that, this and that. But then we're not bringing nothing to the table. So that's why from the structure mindset, I see where people could come from about building their own structure. But from the heart, where they're coming from, I disagree on, because you're trying to totally disconnect from your brothers and sisters when that was the whole purpose of you coming over here in the first place. And then a lot of us don't even take the time to realize that maybe, just maybe, they don't understand what happened. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? If you actually took the, and I'll give you an example. I was talking to a brother. He was doing missionary work. He was doing it with Muzungu. And so I took the opportunity, want to talk to the brother, see, if he knew who we were, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, Muzungu had a fit about it, et cetera, et cetera. But I wasn't really tripping on that. I was really just talking to him. And I realized talking to him, and for us from the diaspora, especially with those of the awakening, we always go to Deuteronomy 28, et cetera, et cetera. And we're trying to reference that to the Atlantic slave trade. Or for them, I guess you could say the sub-Saharan slave trade, right? And it blew my mind because his face was puzzled, like he didn't know what I was talking about. And I realized in that moment, I said, he really does not know what I'm talking about. And I could have took that moment and been frustrated, like, how you not know, blah, 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 blah. But nah, it was a learning moment for me. Like, no, the approach got to be different. Maybe if I come from a culturalistic standpoint, that'd be more understanding because he comes from an actual culture. You see what I'm saying? So I would say both parties are right. What you just said about what you feel is 110% correct. I believe those who want to build our own infrastructures is also correct. But the right heart has to be in it because the ultimate goal should be at the end of it is to unite. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I agree 100% with what you said there, brother. You know, because that is true. I've heard in just conversations, and I'm pretty sure you guys both have heard it in conversations here amongst the diaspora. Yeah, we got to show them this, we got to show them that, instead of taking a minute to sit back and say, I'm not in the US anymore. I'm not running for my life. I'm not worried about if I leave the house right now, am I gonna make it back? Is my wife gonna see me again if I just go to the store to grab some milk? You know what I'm saying? And we come here and, like you said, we do the same thing. We try to do the same thing to them that was being done to us in the US. And we don't even give them the opportunity to show us why they move the way they move here on the continent. So if we're not, want to give them that room to show us why they do things the way they do it, they're not going to want to hear from us why we move the way we move. We got to open that door to show each other, look, this is why I do this. This is who I am. This is why I'm here. I'm here to bring the two sticks back together, to do my part, but we just come in and we want to bogart. We want to, I know better than you. I done came over here and learned some things that I thought I knew. You know what I'm saying? And they taught me some things. So, Brother Miles, what's your take on that same question?
I think I can definitely understand what Mikhail was saying about the diaspora needing a space to process and heal when we initially touch down, right? I think we need that time to decompress from like the trauma that we've experienced, like in the West, in a place that feels safe. So I think first and foremost, before we even start thinking about what needs to be changed or improved or whatever, I think we first need to decompress and process. And in that way, I can say that one thing that I wish would be better would be more of like the legal system, or as far as like diasporans coming in goes, because it's not easy to come in and sit down and process when you have to be thinking, do I have to leave the country every couple months or whatever? You still end up having that same stressful mindset while trying to get things done or merge yourself with people. So I think that we definitely need that space, and that would be very helpful for the transition process. I don't know if that necessarily needs to look like an infrastructure wherein we're separated from the locals, because for me personally, I think that I've learned the most by interacting like with the locals, right? And although it's a shock at first and there can be disagreements and there can be issues, I've come to value in my time on Tanzania like the whole process of conflict resolution, right? Where I think with the idea of separating first, we're trying to avoid conflict and issues. But for me, I've come to learn that if we're actually going to come together, we have to allow room for those conflicts so that we can process and deal with them in a healthy way, so that we can come out with a better understanding of each other and where we're coming from and what our experiences are. I think from there, we can then establish genuine relationships wherein we can approach improving and building together because we have a mutual understanding of each other. So for me, I think that it's important that we have that room to process and decompress. But I don't think that it would be ideal for us to physically separate ourselves on an infrastructure level. If that's the mindset that we're going to approach it with, I definitely think we do a better job coming together and living amongst the people as much as possible if we have the end goal of building together and understanding each other.
That's cool. So because of what you just said, I know when you were here, I know you're back in the U.S. for a little bit right now, but when you were here, you started a project at a school out here, working with the local kids who weren't fortunate enough to go to the government school or the private schools here. What was that experience like? What was it like dealing with the parents of those children, people in the community? You know, tell us a little bit about that, what it was like to work with them.
Well, yeah. When we worked on that project, I met a local friend of mine just in my neighborhood, and it turns out he was a teacher. And it's really him, because what he would do is that he didn't have a job, but he was a trained teacher. And he couldn't find one because of like the whole COVID thing was happening, and there just weren't jobs available. And so what he started doing was he would teach the children in the neighborhood. Now, I'm sure you guys are familiar in Tanzania, like it's a very strong hustle culture because of the wealth gap and the poverty. So there's a lot of kids whose parents just have to get up and go work every day. And so all these kids just end up roaming around the neighborhood. Sometimes like they don't know where they're going to eat, what they're going to do, whatever it is. So he would start gathering these kids in the neighborhood and getting like a chalkboard or some books and just teaching them like math, English, whatever he could. And when I saw that, I thought it was an opportunity to help out, to improve, you know? And so we ended up kind of like getting a building where we actually built like a classroom and started bringing the kids over. And the parents were really, really grateful because we were like bringing food and stuff like that. And for the fact that they could have their child learn, you know, and go to school, even though they couldn't afford like clothing to send them to a more traditional school. So as far as on a community level, like it was very much appreciated. And I got to build so many relationships and connections and learn so much from that. On a governmental level, it was more difficult because I think that the biggest difference I've seen in Tanzania is that the people there on the ground will accept and will love you and are looking forward to getting to know like a diasporan. But I think when it starts to get on like a governmental level, it's a difference, you know. Then money starts to come into play, where people kind of have this perception that anybody coming from the West just has a lot of money. And so for me, in my experience, the local government actually derailed that project entirely. They started trying to like tax us and charge us for things that we didn't need to be being charged for. It essentially trying to sabotage the project to extort money out of us, you know. And so that's kind of the disparity that I saw, is that the community was very receptive of like a diasporan person coming in and wanting to help and wanting to connect. But it seemed that on a governmental level, at least with the local government, it was more about money, you know, and extortion. And so we ended up having to close that project down because of that. But it made me wonder then, like, how can we start to make a change and kind of navigate through kind of that barrier that can be created sometime because of the perception of who we are and what we have to our name. Because like Mikhail was saying, there is a lack of understanding of what our experience has actually been in America. And I can't blame necessarily the people, because I understand that in the same way that we've been indoctrinated with a certain perception of Africa coming from the West, Africa has also been indoctrinated with a certain perception of those who live in the West. And so this, I think, furthers the point even more that we need to be coming together on a human level as much as we can to start to clarify those misconceptions so that people can really understand, like, oh, like not everybody in America is Kanye West and Jay-Z and Will Smith. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a whole different reality that we're coming from, and finding a common ground there to build from.
Right. And I mean, yeah, that's so true. That's how they see us over here. And it's funny because, like Brother Mikael and Brother Miles said, we just didn't know that they didn't all know the story of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they do think that we all are rich for the most part. We even had we had a young man ask us one time. He was like, "Does everyone in America know how to sing? All the Black people in America know how to sing?" And so I was laughing. I was like, "No." But how they portray us, they literally only portray us as the lifestyle of the rich Black African Americans who all know how to sing or dance or play music or something like that. That's how we're portrayed over here. So you can't really blame them for how they think when we come over here, and also, yeah, colonization played a big role in how the people act here when it comes down to extortion and everything. Now, I get it. Everybody, you make right and wrong decisions. You have a choice, to do something like that or not. And I know deep down, just like the Most High talks to us, he speaks to them too. But I do understand what colonization can do to people. And especially when you come to Africa, countries like Tanzania, and you see just how poor the people really are. If they really think deep down that we're all rich, like, we can't really say if we were raised the way that they were raised, that we wouldn't do the same thing to try and just get ahead, right? So, but it's not just the way it is. Right. They're trying to survive, but every chance that we get when we notice that we're being treated that way, we take that opportunity to educate them, about the African Americans. We don't just allow them to try and do something to get over on us without us actually trying to educate them that, listen, how you are perceiving me is not how it really is. That's not how we all live in the U.S. And it really does open the door up for the conversation so that they gain that understanding, or they, at least the curiosity to want to know more about, well, what happened to our people in the U.S. We interviewed a young man the other day, and I asked him, because we were telling him, I was like, do you think that the local Tanzanians would be interested in even seeing the movies that portray what happened to our people? And because they just don't really know. And so he was like, yeah, we would love to find out, because we love cinema, right? And I'm like, well, it's not that type of cinema. But just to give them a visual to understand what happened, the torments that happened to us, and even vice versa, if it's things that they want to share with us, the firsthand experiences that maybe their parents experienced, because Tanzania has only been a country for 60 years. So a lot of their parents went through the colonization when the Germans were here. I think we have to, instead of getting upset with the locals, we have to put that into practice even more as a diaspora, at educating the locals about who we really are, and that takes a lot of put yourself behind, put who you are behind right now, and just, you see that there's a need here. There are people, right, and there's a need for them to understand. And I feel like if we don't educate them, there's no way that we'll be able to bridge the gap between us.
Right.
I agree. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, well, add to that I think that comes with a level or a desire to understand, right? Because I think we also want to be careful that we don't run the mistake of having like a colonizer mindset, if you will, like, I'm here to educate you, but more so kind of realizing that if we first put the foot forward to say, let me try to take the time to understand, as you're saying, like, instead of becoming immediately upset, like being extorted of, although it's upsetting, trying to understand like the circumstance that produced this kind of like behavior or mindset. I think when we look at that, then we start to get into the conversation of, oh, like, although this person may be my enemy, seem to be on the surface because of how they're treating me, when I start to look at their circumstance and what they have to grow up in and the economic situation, and I realize that although this person does have choices, they're also a product of their environment, which, coming from the West, we should be very much familiar with, because we have also faced that same thing, right? Where our people have been put in certain circumstances that produce certain behaviors because of the environment that people are raised in. And so on that level, then we see like that common ground. And I think from there, we can then have a conversation to be like, oh, bro, like, I understand where this is coming from. As much as it hurt me up front, I understand where you're coming from, because what you don't know is that we also deal with that same thing back home. And that creates that room that you're talking about for conversation and common ground, which is why we're coming back to the point, or the importance of conflict resolution, right? not trying to run away or immediately just fighting, but saying like, let me try to understand. And in that way, I'm going to end up having an opportunity to be understood. And I think that can create a lot of room for us to actually make genuine connections and further our relationship from the diasporans and the locals.
I can agree with that. I agree with that to an extent. And I say to an extent because if I believe we're going to hold ourselves accountable to come to a level of understanding, then we have to hold them accountable too. You know, we all here's one thing I realized being in Africa is every sickness, every captivity, every corruption has plagued every African, no matter where you at. So obviously, we know in certain places it was more harder than others, right? And I guess you can say in certain places, because of that, some people know more better than others, right? But at the same time, we don't. For me personally, I don't want to treat them like babies of like, let me help, let me spoon feed you. I want you to understand me, but at the same time, I want to understand you, but you have to allow me to. And so I'm saying that because Chev got his experience. And this is the beautiful thing. This is why I always told people coming to what I've learned. This is what I learned before coming to Tanzania. Of watching so many videos, I had to stop. Because you watch too many videos, it can discourage you. No different than our sis, you know, saying, you know, she hearing all these bad things and it's making her feel some type of way. What I realize is everybody has a personal experience and it's always different than somebody. It's always different than somebody. So I'm saying that because although I've had a balanced experience, a great experience. I've had the good, the bad, the ugly, the oh man, what we gonna do? To man, all praise to the Most High, like the blessings, right? Share that good time. You know, Stephen and y'all had good time, but I don't want to ignore like our people, diaspora, are not going through these things. You know, this stuff is really happening, and so we got to keep that in mind. That although we do have some people who can't just endure, and it probably be the smallest thing that they turn into a big thing. But nonetheless, the problem is still there. And so while we're still getting to know one another, meaning those who are indigenous to that land and those who are coming back, there are still others on each side that still need to get taken care of. And they do that for each other. While they're still understanding us, they still taking care of one another. And that's what I'm saying. That's what we have to do. While we're still, because I mean, think about it. If it takes you a while to marry somebody, and you got to go through this relationship, you still got to live life while you getting to know them.
Right.
So there's people on the continent who still got to go through life while we're still trying to bridge this gap. So then in that case, if we look at it from that perspective, then what should the diaspora do for those who, while we're getting to build that relationship, who's struggling, who having issues with rent, who some people living off certain savings, you know, people living off faith and this and that. There's still and that's why I say it has to be some type of infrastructure where while we're going through that courting process, we can still take care of the actual family that we do know. Well, at least who's willing. You got some who just,
right,
you know, they want to do their own thing. You ain't gonna act like we ain't got Negro peons still over there. We do, but but for those who have a willing heart, right, who want to do the work and showing effort, that's the infrastructure. When you look at the actual definition of infrastructure, just by having structure, a foundation, a physical area, like man, that's an infrastructure for diaspora. Why? Because we can have meetings there. We can have events there. You got Tim and Siobhan's place. That's the infrastructure. The pop-up shop. You know what I'm saying? Some of us got Airbnbs. That's an infrastructure. You see what I'm saying? So while we're courting and getting to know one another from a diaspora to an indigenous, we still got family we got to take care of, y'all.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Right. With that actually brings me to like our next question. Well, how can the diaspora, how can we work together, right? Because you have some diaspora that come over here and work together. Like you mentioned, Tim and Siobhan, they have their pop-up shop, and a lot of the diaspora go to the pop-up shop and just introduce their products and different things like that. But when it comes down to, and yes, you have to take care of your business. I mean, your family. And we know coming to a country like Tanzania, you can't just come here and just sit. You know, it's one of the countries that they like, no, you got to add to the economy. We ain't about to take care of you if something happens. So, how can a diaspora start working together? Because from what I see, I don't see much of the diaspora trying to come together to work together. So I get what you're saying about infrastructure and different things like that. And all of those things that you're talking about with taking care of your family and the businesses and everything, that actually does help even the economy here still. It helps the people here. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I don't see a lot of diaspora trying to come together and work together. I feel personally like, if you know that the Most High has sent you over here and he's gifted you with something, or he's placed something in your heart for you to do, I know that there are other people that he sent for the same purpose. Right. But I don't see, I hear people saying the same things. Like I'll hear 3 people say the same thing about what's in their heart to do. And I hear these 3 people saying, but I don't see people actually trying to come together to work together to accomplish what the Most High has placed in their hearts to do. It just kind of seems like everybody is trying to be separate and do their own thing. And I feel like it's still that crowd mentality that's going on even when you get over here.
And that's facts. And you're totally right. I'll tell you this. I won't say it's not happening. Here's the problem. You have too many people doing the same thing separately. So we still have the gang mentality over there. You got certain cliques over here who want to, I'm telling you, because I hear it and I see it. So I'm not gonna say we're not doing anything. The problem is we're working too hard and not smart enough. Spending so much money, so by the time you're trying to build that infrastructure on your own, it's time to go home. Because you spend all your money rather than networking, right? Because that's what that whole pop-up shop was supposed to be about. It's the network. Y'all Man's is a place to network. These events are supposed to be a network. The seminars, network. And I mean, there's a lot more to it, but to keep it on the surface, there's just too many people doing the same thing, just being separate with it. And it makes no sense. I can tell you about 6 meetings I done went to, and everybody's saying the same thing. And I asked all of them saying, well, if you doing that, why not work with that person? Or if you doing this, they thought they had the same idea. Why not just come together? And it's always something. Right. And what I realize is this. It's 2 things. The first thing is pride, right? Pride is the beginning of destruction. And then you have those who just want to sit in Moses' seat, unfortunately. They want to sit in Moses' seat, and it's like, that's not how we were created. You know what I'm saying? We were only supposed to have one king, right? Everybody else is supposed to be a part of the body. But everybody trying to be the king or the queen, however you want to put it, rather than humbling yourself and fulfill your role. So my answer to what you asked is this. With realizing that is the mentality, right, of the diaspora. What I realized in my year, and y'all know we can put some work in. What I realized is the best thing you can do in the moment or where we at is just give people like-minded. Whether that be 1, 2, 3, 4 people, even if it's just you and your wife. Y'all work together and y'all will then bring those who are like-minded too. And that's what me personally, I'm seeing unfold now with even our current situation. Now that we've tried to do this and that, now he's bringing those who are on the same wave because they become natural. We don't have to fuss or fight. I don't have to go through this deep in depth of what you believe in, what I believe in. It's just natural. And that's the thing about it. The center of any relationship should be the Holy Spirit. So if you have that, everything else will just fall in order. So that's what I would suggest to just, for right now, unfortunately, it just get with people who like minded and let that snowball roll.
I agree. I agree with that, because we see it all the time. We see people, like Tim and Siobhan. We see y'all, man, what they're doing there. They open up these venues for us to come together, to network, to build a community here that we can all put our minds together and say, hey, look, this is what I bring to the table. This is what I bring to the table. But unfortunately, we come over here, like you said, we got that jealous man mentality. You know, like instead of saying, you know what, I don't know about healing of the body. Okay, this is Brother Mikael and this is Sister Siobhan. This is what they do for a living, is they talk about herbal medicines that help and heal the body. Instead of me coming to y'all and saying, hey, I'm dealing with this, what can I take? It's more along the lines of, nah, I don't want to go to them. They think they better than me. Well, I'm gonna put money in their pocket. It just that crabs in the barrel mentality. It don't make sense. And I know even with Sister Ileana from Journey with us, she's always putting out stuff about how to market your business, how to do these things. If we're not supporting each other, how are we gonna learn to support the locals here if we're not supporting each other? Right. And so as far as us coming together as just the diaspora, there's a healing there because we're all familiar with the Willie Lynch letters, the old Negro versus the young Negro, the light-skinned Negro versus the dark-skinned Negro, the male versus the female. We still come over here and we still have that same mentality of, instead of saying and embracing our brother and our sister in the diaspora and saying, let me support you. I mean, the Messiah said, do unto others as you want done unto you. So if I want you to support me, I got to show myself friendly and support you. But if I'm not doing that, then I'm just saying, I don't want to deal with you. So why should you want to deal with me? Because that's what I'm showing you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So
my curiosity then is, with that in mind, what steps can a person take to start to kind of like pull apart what it is that's keeping us separate? Like we see this in the States, and now we're on the continent in a lot of ways, and we see the same thing kind of like propagating itself. So what steps then can we take, like on a personal level, to start to, I guess, heal whatever it is that problem is that's causing us to be separate? And I think Mikael mentioned that a big part of that problem is internal, right? It's like, it's pride. Yeah, it's everybody wanting to be the big guy, the leader. Yeah. How then can we then start to shift that mindset? And what mindset should we be shifting to start to alleviate this issue that we're seeing?
Well, I think just think about it. Let's think about the nature of Muzungu and why they did what they did. If you look at the historical records, a lot of them, because let's use Pharaoh. Pharaoh, in Exodus chapter 1 or 2, he moved out of fear of why he enslaved the Israelites, right? Mm. It was his fear that drove him to want to be in more power. You see what I'm saying? Same thing when you go to the historical records of understanding the Berlin Conference. They moved in fear to get that power because they understood that we were a superior people. So they moved in that fear. So why am I saying that? A lot of the issues of the root of pride itself is fear. Fear of what you may not be, mm-hmm. or what you think you should be. And so I think so a lot of the time with fear, the companion of fear is being frightened, that flight or fight stage, feeling like you always got to fight, feeling like there's somebody always after you. Somebody's always trying to attack you. So I think the first step that we, as far as the collective as diaspora, have to do is make somebody feel comfortable. Mm. A lot of us, we still in Tanzania looking over our shoulders. You know what I'm saying? I can tell you from my experience. I mean, I don't know if y'all had this experience, but driving down Bagamoyo Road and that it's regular to them on a regular car to have red and blue lights. And, the first time I saw it, fear and anxiety came over me like, oh, hold on, what's going on? Not realizing that's just a regular thing there. So when you look at that from that perspective, that made me uptight. Therefore, I felt I got in defense mode very quickly. and I felt like I'm about to have to defend myself. So when we come over there, that's the first thing we're on is defense. So we gotta be able to, for those who are either healed or somewhat healed, our discernment gotta pick up on identifying, is a person moving in fear while he's doing what he's doing, or is this pride, which is they are the same thing. And if that's the case, let me at least do my job or my part, understanding, because that's what you said, Chef. We got to understand them, right? We got to understand each other. So understanding that, maybe I should create an environment for them that they can feel safe. So then maybe they can put that guard down.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Because, brother, look, I'm with you. When them lights hit you, you know how it was in Atlanta. Look, them lights hit you, boy, you be like, wait, what's that?
Exactly.
But yeah, one of the things I say in response to what you said, Miles, about how can we bridge that gap, I think a big part of it is, we know the scripture says don't talk about the toothpick in your brother's eye without looking at the log in your own eye. And a lot of times we come over here and we don't look at our own personal issues first, but we want to point the finger at somebody else. I had a long time ago, I had a pastor tell us one time, when you point your finger at somebody, you got 3 pointing back at yourself. You know what I'm saying? And so we don't want to take that time to sit back and say, Most High, remove these things out of me that would make me unfriendly, that would make me not show your characteristics, because we are his people and we are supposed to walk like him, talk like him, act like him, show his light in everything that we do. So you have to ask yourself, Most High, whose light am I showing? Am I showing the light of the world, or am I, or am I showing your light? Because he's the one that draws people, and we have to learn to allow him to use us. We are the clay, he's the potter. But we trying to tell the potter how to mold us and how to shape us. That's the same thing we do over here. And there was a time back when me and Brother Mikael first met. But Brother Mikael was done with me. He was like, "Nah, I ain't talking to this brother. This brother on some other stuff." Because I was new to the walk. You know what I'm saying? But he took the time to be like, you know what? I have to look at where this brother is at. And the best thing for me to do for this brother is to pray for him and ask the Most High, how do I approach Brother Steph, to get him to see what I'm trying to say. And now we going, 5 years later now, look, we on YouTube together talking about how we can be a better brother and sister to each other and to our people, so that we can handle what the Most High has called all of us over here to do. The 2 sticks can't become one if I'm only worried about my side of the stick. But if I open myself up, then I'm inviting the other side of the stick to want to join with me, so that we can both glorify the Most High.
Right.
And I think also what he brought up with when we first met Brother Mikael, like literally it took, because we both have the Holy Spirit, right? Even though we didn't understand each other, we didn't see eye to eye. I got rubbed the wrong way, but what I had to, because I had a heart to know the truth. I had a heart to understand, right? And so because I had the Holy Spirit inside of me, even though I was rubbed the wrong way, I took it to Abba, and I took it to God in prayer, right? And I prayed about the situation, and change didn't happen right away, but because literally I could say, speaking from me, I was at the point where I was ready to walk away completely from everything, talking about who we are, some Hebrews. So I was literally like, I'm going back over there to what I know. But I love one thing. I love Abba. I love the Lord, right? And so he calmed me, and his spirit began to speak to me. And as time went by, I began to understand some things. And it got to the point where it wasn't like that anymore. Right. So it is definitely a part of a person wanting to change. I think that's a big part of it. The person has to want to actually know that they have something going on with them, acknowledge it, and then take it to the Lord and have him start to heal them. Have him get to the root of where it actually is stemming from. Because a lot of times we act a certain way, we react a certain way, and it comes from a lot of things that could have happened to us in our childhood. Sometimes we forget about things that happened to us as children, and we are acting a certain way, and it comes all the way back from there, and we have to allow him to heal us of those things. A lot of times we have to go through deliverances. He have to break all kind of stuff off of us, but it really comes first with acknowledging that I got a problem. Like something is wrong with me in this area, and I think that's one of the issues that we still deal with is when we come, even though we come into another continent, it's the same thing. A lot of people don't want to acknowledge that they have a problem. And I think that's what keeps us apart, because if you can't acknowledge it, then you can't have it change, which means you're going to always react in this way, which means we're always going to have to be separate because we can't work together like that. So as far as what we need to do, our people have to stop being stubborn and acknowledge all of us got issues. Like it's not just one person, or all of us got issues. And as much as the Most High can deliver us from stuff and show us things, it's still stuff that's there. We got residue here, residue. And so it's a constant process, and I think we have to stop being stubborn and be willing to acknowledge, especially when you hear multiple people telling you that you acting like this, but you want to keep saying it's not you, it's the other people. And it's like, I get it. It could be some situations when everybody is wrong, but it's highly unlikely that everybody is going to be wrong when they're saying that you're like that. So it's definitely being willing to look at yourself and allow the Holy Spirit to change you. And then we can come together and start working together. That's, yeah.
So it sounded like sorry.
Go ahead.
Now I was just saying to me, just from listening to the both of you, sounding like as far as starting to actually create change goes, it's starting with, first of all, self-awareness within ourselves to like recognize where we have problems, and then also having that desire to change along with that. And then also another powerful thing that I think Brother Mikael said was also unworking fearful thinking. And in unworking that, we can start to unwork all the things that are products of fear, like pride and envy and all these things that end up separating us on a larger level. And I think it all kind of comes down to having that relationship, like a genuine relationship with our Creator, like you were saying, because for you to have like had that conflict, but then you could go back to Yah, and because you have that relationship, he could speak to you in the language that you understood, to then kind of start to bring that awareness to your mind, kind of like allowed you guys to still be able to preserve that relationship. And I think that is definitely important, even just in my experience being on the land, because again, when we first get there, I think it can be very easy to have this mindset of like, I got to change everything, but then you start to realize that like, well, I'm a project too, like in the same way that I want to build Africa, like I'm Africa, I got to build me at the same time. I got to look inside of me and see where my infrastructure is lacking or where I'm, like faulty, and like also be willing to work on that. And I feel like that may be a key as well, when we talk about like as much building as we can do, like physically and outwardly. I also believe that like it's no point in building like a beautiful city and then have ugly people in it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we got to also be doing that, or willing to firstly look inside ourselves and do that internal work, because the more of us that can then have that internal transformation, which should be happening anyways as we like continue in this walk, the more of us that continue to have this transformation internally is going to eventually become outward, because whatever is around us is just a reflection of what's happening inside. And so I can imagine then that we have to first build the internal kingdom, if you will, not first to like denote like the work that needs to be done externally, but realizing the importance, I guess, in building that internal kingdom, because naturally that's then gonna reflect. And I think Brother Mikhail had brought that up about the more you start to spend time with yourself, is the more you're gonna realize like who like-minded people are, and those people will be drawn to you. But I don't think Yah can lead your kind of people to you if you're in a hurt place where you might hurt those people. So you have to first, he has to first heal you to then bring you the people who can then support you, and you can support them because you're of the same mind and the same mission. And then from there, I think we'll start to see much more of that external kingdom kind of really coming to light.
No,
Yeah.
I would agree with you though. I would say actually first, you do have to do it first. Think about this. Messiah said, repent and seek ye the kingdom. He said the kingdom is within, right? He said, then all things shall be added unto you. He said, when Kepha went to him and he said, well, Master, we have left all. He was telling them there have not been one person who have left house, wife, children, father, mother, for the kingdom of heaven's sake that should inherit in this life and the life after. So we have to do that internal work for things to be added on. You got to lose a thing to gain a thing. You cannot put wine into a wine bottle. You got to become a new wine bottle for new wine to be poured into you, and that's the work that we have to do, and that does come with a sacrifice. And that's why I stand with. I'm not saying totally disconnect from the local. I think that would be the worst thing for you to do, especially in a country that you're just not familiar with. That'll be a worst thing for you to do. And we personally know that being in Tanzania, that's the worst thing for you to do, to disconnect from them and not have no type of connection. That you'll be a fool. You'll be a fool.
Yeah.
But we remember we were like Sis said, we were all sent there for a mission. And I always tell y'all this, I went to Ghana before Ghana became this thing of, year return. It wasn't no, and I came right before that way. And so most people went to Ghana off, the year return, right? But when I look at Tanzania, you don't hear that. It wasn't this big, huge thing that happened. We may mention Magufuli, right? And his inspiring words, but it was no big event that happened that drove us there. A lot of it was by the Spirit. Look, I ain't know nothing about Tanzania, wasn't looking into Tanzania, nothing like that. My whole mission was Ghana. And then I prayed of where the Father wanted to take me. Lo and behold, Brother Stephen calls me. Hey, brother, my wife had a dream. And the very dream that I was asking for, I said, oh my God. And I knew right then, because I didn't even know Hebrews was in Tanzania. Knew nothing about it. So then he started to show me, this is where I'm sending my people. I wouldn't be surprised if next few years it's a huge wave to go to South Africa. And he started setting up pillars. And that's for a reason. So that shows you that we all have a mission. It's the same mission with different jobs. And I think that's the part where we're struggling with, is we don't know our job. And that's because you ain't sit down long enough to get the instructions. A lot of us get to Tanzania, you want to start a business immediately. You want to do this and you want to do that immediately. And by the time you actually finally get to sit down and get handed the instructions, you burnt out. And I'll be like, all right, go home and refill. We'll try this again another day.
That's true.
And that's a lot. If you really just take the time to listen to these stories that these diaspora is having, the end result is always they burnt out. They burnt out because you thought the red carpet was going to be here when you got here. And it was. It just wasn't in the way that you thought. The red carpet was Yah.
Yeah. And I think that I feel like that goes back to what you were saying earlier about being different parts of the body, right? And not necessarily not wanting to assume your role in anything, but then kind of having that humility to be like, okay, what part am I supposed to play? right? Which is almost being like that servant leader, which is like a caricature of Christ, right? Like being willing to come in and be like, yeah, where do you have me in this process in the collective body of people? Because what you realize very quickly, like me, like I came out there knowing nobody, so I thought it was just me. Then I came to find it was so many different people coming with like a relatively similar understanding. So then that then should reveal that, okay, there's something bigger than me happening here. So it's not necessarily about what I feel like needs to be done and my ideas, although those are good things, but subjecting those initial ideas to saying, you've put these things in my heart for a reason. Now, what part do I need to play in the body to achieve the fullness of the things that you've put in my heart? And I think that is in that mindset of humility and being willing to play your part in the body and know your role. And I think you find naturally that you would avoid things like getting burnt out, because if it's one thing when you're in alignment, when you're where you're supposed to be, you find that it actually encourages you and pours into you more than it takes away and takes out of you or exhausts you. So I think it's about like finding your place and being willing to find your place so that you can actually be at peace with where you are and serve your function in the way you're meant to.
Yeah, I agree completely with that. And I'll say this before we go to the next topic here. When I look at it, I think another one of the biggest problems that we have within the diaspora is we don't really know what it means to be loved by our brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? So, like, Mikael, you remember, we was having a conversation about the law when we first met. And, we was fresh out of the Christianity boat, you know what I'm saying? So we was like, nah, the law is done away with. Paul said the law is done away with, and you were breaking it down to us out of love. But instead of understanding that my brother loves me and he's just trying to show me what has been shown to him, offense came instead of just understanding, no, your brother loves you enough to show you what the scriptures really say, what they've been hiding from you. And that's one of the problems that I think we still suffer with, even coming over here, is we'll look at somebody, like, for example, I'm 20 years, just about 20 something years older than Brother Yeshai and Brother Tim. Even Brother Shep, I've had conversations with these young brothers and they've taught me things, but we come over here with this mentality. No, I'm older than these men. They can't tell me nothing. And you can't have that mentality. Your brother is not your enemy, but that's what we've been taught, that our brothers and our sisters are our enemy. And we refuse to hear, I'm talking to you out of love. I'm not talking to you to chastise you. I'm not, trying to beat you with the word. I'm not trying to force it down your throat. I'm just saying, bro, I love you. That's why I'm telling you, this is, what the Most High is saying. And sometimes we mess our own selves up because we refuse to, we ask the Most High, talk to me, tell me something, show me what I need to do. And then he'll send somebody, but he don't send who you want him to send. And so you rebuke it and mess yourself up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I absolutely
agree. That's so true. But I would say, like, so for a diaspora that's coming, right? Like, how can we prepare for those who are coming? Because we talked about us needing to heal. We talked about us, establishing infrastructure, but at the same time, not disconnecting completely from the locals. And like one of the things that like you guys were just talking about, hearing from the Most High, knowing what you were called to do, why you were sent, not rushing into things. Because one of the things I noticed with the diaspora, and we did it too, when we first came here, we was looking to Shabbat, just to Shabbat, just with everybody. Like we all got to get together and we got to Shabbat. We got to have Shabbat, right?
Instead of getting yourself ready for Shabbat.
But not realizing how much we did need to heal. So, I think that's one of the things the diaspora, when they first come over here, like what you're saying, they hop into business. I got to hurry up and start a business. So they're making hasty decisions. They're trying to meet with any and everybody. And then, that don't work out. So a lot of diaspora, they end up, like you say, like going back. So how can we prepare for those who are coming behind us? You know, like what can we do so that the things that we have experienced and the things that a lot of the other people we've heard their stories, like we can help others not make those same mistakes.
Okay. Think of it like this. The Messiah had told the disciples that he was leaving to do what? Prepare a place.
Right.
In my Father's house, there are many mansions. And so we know mansions is homes. Obviously, it has to be some type of land. There's something that's there. So when you get there, you need of nothing. And so, am I saying that we are that kingdom or mansion that he's talking about? No, what I'm saying is we take the lesson in that. And if he had sent us out to a far land, right, that we should take that same methodology and we have to build something. We have to have something in hand for them to come to, because it's like this, right? Obviously, a lot of us, the first thing we need to do when we get here is heal, right? That's what we all agree on that. We got to heal first, right?
Right.
So think of it like this way. If I'm taking the crackhead and obviously he needs some rehabilitation, he has to go to a facility to get the rehabilitation. And that rehabilitation center comes with a staff that helps get him through that transition. Well, I believe, and this is just on a grassroots level, is look at what I think if we look at what we're already doing, and some of us stop trying to do the same thing as the next man, and really write down what is it that we actually need to have in place for people to come over here. Because that's a number one thing. People struggling with housing, people struggling with food, people struggling with, I mean, a lot of it is you dealing with the things that help you maintain that people struggle with, on top of all the other spiritual things that people go through. So I believe if we just write down, like, what would I need it? What would it be that I needed when I came? For me, I would have preferred to have a community that looks like me, or at least come from where I come from, that welcomes me and help me transition. A lot of us don't have that. You know, and I think that's one of the hugest things that I heard more consistent than anything, is that there is no community. Community, common unity. We agreeing on something that we can do for the people. So I believe, but I think for those who do even have that mindset to have that type of community, we're thinking way too big too soon. Like, keep it simple. It don't have to be something tremendous right now. It could be something simple as, here's a list of this. Here's where you can go to get this done. Here's where you can go to get this done. Or if you need a house to go to, this brother or sister has a house that you can go to. Or you like some food, here you can go. You know what I'm saying? You need to go some shopping, we got drivers for you that can take you there. We don't even have that type of system. You see what I'm saying? So I think if we just start small with the little resources that we do have, which is information and people, we do it. That's where not the diaspora, that's where the locals come into play. I got a list of drivers for you that you can call. Trusted drivers, because you got to court them too. Trusted drivers that I personally dealt with, that I can get you with. I got a brother and sister right here. You need an Airbnb, boom, there you go. And that right there is a small little system that can at least help them transition. But because, like you said, we're not sitting down with each other and just putting that on paper. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's scared to come together because they think everybody's going to attack their doctrine or their understanding. And at some point, we will get to that point because we do got to understand one another, because we got to walk together. How can two walk together lest they be agreed? And we're going to get to that point. But for right now, the job is at hand. And this brother need a home. This sister needs some clothes. This brother needs some food. This brother needs a good lawyer. This sister need a good driver. They need a good location to go to. That is something that we can do now. So
Yeah,
keep it.
You know,
I agree.
yeah, I was gonna say,
Go ahead.
going back real quick to what you were saying about the doctrine. I agree. That is something that should come secondary. And the only reason why I say it should come secondary and helping and being our brother and sisters keeper should come first is because something I've struggled with in this walk is the word says that for 400 years you would be in captivity and you would not remember who you were or whose you were. So a lot of us are coming into this walk within the last, I'm going to go ahead and now say about 9-10 years. There's a lot of people that were in it for longer than that, but majority of the people right now are coming into this walk within the last 5 to 10 years. And instead of seeing and understanding, the word says that I will gather my people together from the four corners of the earth, and I will plead with them face to face. The purpose of Yah saying he's going to plead with us is because guess what? Some of us gonna get the Shabbat wrong. Some of us gonna get the feast days wrong. Some of us gonna get the language wrong. Some of us are going to get understanding of the word wrong. So that's why he has to come and he's going to be the one to straighten it out. So the things that I learned a lot of things from Brother Mikael over the years that if I would have just shut him out because, I didn't understand the word the way that he was bringing it to me when we would have these conversations, I wouldn't know what I know now. But the problem is we come into this instead of saying, my brother loves me, that's why he's saying what he's saying. Like I said earlier, we just want to push people away and focus only on the doctrine. Their doctrine does not line up with mine. And I agree. The word does say, how can two walk if not in agreement? But we have to also be in agreement that I don't know it all. You don't know it all. So let's focus on how can we build a facility that we can all come together, feel safe, understand who we are, whose we are, and say a community. A lot of people I've noticed in the diaspora, they come out here and they reject the community that's here because they're like, well, you don't have Shabbat on Saturday when I have it, or I go by the lunar, or I go by the solar, and we get caught up in a whole bunch of just, look, people gonna get mad at me, and I don't care. We get caught up in a lot of nonsense. It's nonsense, but not nonsense. Every person's thought process comes from somewhere. So it comes from some level of understanding. But we seem to forget not everybody is where you are. But where we all are when we come over here as the diaspora, we're coming to a new place that none of us know. We don't know nobody. We don't know how the government works. We don't know the laws. Everybody, like you said, got police lights in their car, so we tripping off that. And so we have to take the time to be like, let me adjust. Let's adjust, build a foundation together as a nation and allow the Most High to teach us. He said, call no man your spiritual father. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I see it.
What are you
I
going to
look at
say?
it like, go ahead, sis. Go ahead.
No, she was letting Brother Miles speak because he was getting ready to say something before I started talking.
Oh, okay.
It'll come back to me. You can go ahead, Mikael.
When you were saying that, the first thing that came to my mind was when the Messiah had the disciples and brought the child over, and he said, if you don't humble yourself like this child, you should not inherit the kingdom of heaven. And so when you look at the nature of a child, first thing a child does is they absorb everything that's around them. They're taking in everything that's around them. They're not bossing nobody around. They're not saying do this, do that. They're absorbing and learning. They're in their learning state. And so a lot of us don't come over here like that. Like, we trying to tell these brothers and sisters how it should go down. And yeah, to a degree, we do know certain things that they don't, right? But it's certain things that they know that we don't. So rather than trying to tell them what to do, we should be exchanging. We should be exchanging information and stop trying to look at it like I know more than you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And like for example, my I think he on here too. My elder, one of my elders, Zakane Moray Noriyahu Ben Louis. You know, he been in the walk for years, 20 plus years.
Years.
And you know, I remember when I first got with him, you know, at the time I just started like really getting into the moray position and, you know, teaching and whatnot, and, you know, getting with him and just talking to him, his questions broke me down and realizing, dang, I don't know nothing. It was just his question. You know what I'm saying? I done already had this discussion with brothers, brother Artur. I done had all these discussions with brothers. Got with him, I was like, dang, I actually don't know nothing. And it made me not only humble myself, but hunger more for the truth. And I think that's really the level that we have to get to, is like treat each situation like you're an infant. You know nothing, and we don't. You know nothing. We all, if you really look at how long the truth been in America, it hasn't even been 100 years yet. And you're dealing with a culture that's over 5,000 years old. And you think you figured it out. You think, as my football coach would say, you think you have arrived. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, these brothers 9, 10 plus years and under think they know something. And I've been there. You know what I'm saying? I've been there. But what you realize is, in that place of thinking you know something, at some point, it gets harder for you to get humble. But when you get humbled, that fall is very hard. And I think being in Africa, I don't think you want that type of humbling. I just don't.
No, not at all. Wrong place for that.
Yeah, I don't think you want that humbling there, you know. So that's just my outlook on it.
Yeah, I think something that always stands out to me, and I think Steve had brought it up earlier, that scripture, the prophecy that talks about the fact that Yah is going to gather us from the four corners of the earth. We've talked about this before, but I don't think we often take the time to understand like what that is actually going to look like, right? Like coming from 4 different corners means there's going to be a lot of people coming from different backgrounds, different cultures, different experiences, different understandings, different interpretations, right? And so the commonality then by which we define a Hebrew can't be how a person dresses or how a person speaks or what jargon they use. It then has to be like, can I recognize the spirit of Yah in you? Because if Yah is calling us from the 4 corners, and I can already expect that there are going to be some people who may look and talk like me, but there's going to be a lot of people who don't. So then how then am I going to be able to recognize my brother so I don't end up, you know, missing out on something that Yah may have for me? It would be then the spirit of Yah that is in that person, that is working in that person. Now, I think when we start looking for that, firstly, you would have had to be able to recognize the spirit of Yah within yourself, which comes back to the conversation we were having about having that level of self-awareness and that time that you really spend developing that relationship. Because the more time you spend familiarizing yourself with the voice of Yah and his essence and his character, is the more you're going to be able to recognize in another person. And that's intangible. So you're then going to be able to see past like the appearance of things, which is all the West is about, is just appearance. And you're going to start to get an understanding of how a Hebrew should be looking at things, which is the function, the core. Is Yah evident in your actions, in your speech? And it doesn't mean that you're perfect, but it means, can I see his character even in your blunders, even in your mistakes? And I think from there, we'll be able to come together on a more solid foundation than we have before. Because as you're saying, and as I've seen, I think we've done a great job coming together on appearances. Like we all talk the same or look the same or dress the same. And by that, we come together and build congregations or communities or whatever. But I think we have to elevate and evolve past that now. We have to realize that, no, the true foundation that we have to build on, in addition to all those things, or more importantly than all those things, is the spirit. Like what's in that person's heart. And I think that then will help us to distinguish what it means to be a Hebrew. And I think that's important because at first, all of this will only happen if you spend that time within yourself to recognize who Yah is and what he's doing in your life. And I think that is what transforms a person. And I think, again, as we mentioned earlier, as that transformation happens, then Yah can start to make a lot more things happen in your life by leading people to you, supporting you, and then what is internal will then manifest externally. So one of the major things I think I'm taking from this conversation is that internal shift, like taking that focus that we so often put externally and outside and turn it inward, and say, okay, like, where am I at? What do I need to be working on? What can I heal from? How am I feeling? How am I approaching? How am I thinking? Am I thinking fearfully? Am I hurt? You know what I'm saying? And starting to unwork these things so that we can become the kind of person who can function in these grand ideas that we have, as you're saying, like taking it like one step at a time, focusing on the small things. And I think the smallest area that we can start literally today is looking at ourselves.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Just with what you guys are talking about, when it comes down to us and having the place for us to heal and the connections and different things like that. I want to ask like this question, because we know most of the diaspora, when they come, there are two cities that the diaspora flock to. We go to Dar es Salaam or Arusha, pretty much, right? And like what we were saying about having the community, even on a small scale, one thing we're running into a problem we're running into here is like housing and, a big thing, housing, but transportation, finding people that we can trust and different things like that and refer them to the diaspora. But my question is, should we all, and I say for the ones who have been here for a while, right? Not ones that are just coming here, because I understand if you just coming here, you might not want to go to a city that's straight village because you just might not do well there. But so coming to Dar and Arusha, I do understand that. But should all of the diaspora stay in these two areas? Or should we, after we've been here, we've gotten acclimated with the place, should we start branching out? And the reason I say that is because, like I brought up when we first started this conversation, America's not looking good, right? So we know that the Most High is going to start sending a lot more of his people, back to the continent. And when they come, Dar es Salaam is big, but there's no way that it can sustain a huge amount of our people if they influx here. Neither can Arusha. So should our people start looking in other areas, not staying here, but branching out and visiting other areas and making connections in other areas? So like you said, when it comes down to the things that the diaspora need when they get here, we actually have those resources. Also, a lot of people may not like a big city. Like, I don't like a big city. So some people may not do well here. So should we start branching out and looking at other areas instead of congregating pretty much in the same two places?
I would say, first and foremost, you should go where you're led. Because if it's one thing I've come to know about Yah is that if you follow his lead, then he's never going to send you somewhere where he hasn't already prepared a place for you. Nor has he or he's also going to equip you to be able to function and survive in that place, like on a mental, spiritual, all the levels, So first, I think we should go where we're led. From there, I can also imagine that Africa is huge. Like Tanzania alone takes you like a 15-hour bus ride and you're not even finished with the country. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so much that is endowed to us, that is our land, And so I personally would imagine that it's okay to be encouraged to travel and to go different places. Again, if we're trying to see where we fit in, then we understand that whatever, there's work to be done all over. And there's things that we can learn all over. There's Dar and Arusha, which are, I think, popular places, which can serve as landing sites. But I think it can also be very valuable to travel and to see places, because again, as Mikhail was saying, you kind of get to experience that childlike mind where you are in a new place and you're learning. You know, you're not allowing yourself to become so comfortable where you start to have that adult perspective, like I got it all figured out. You know what I'm saying? You allow yourself to kind of have a balance where when you travel, wherein you're always open to learning. And I think Yah can reveal a lot of beautiful things in that way, but he can also reveal things to you staying right where you are, you know, just talking to you personally. So I think I would say it comes down to just being where you're led.
All right. And what about you, Brother Mika? I know you lived in Arusha and in Dar.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with Sheb. You definitely have to be led. Like I was led to Arusha. You know, that was all the Most High that led me to Arusha. As well, though, I think it would be smart on the diaspora's behalf, specifically talking to those who've been there for a while, to explore and take the. I mean, think about it. Obviously, nobody's owning houses like that, and most leases is 3, 6 to a year out. So why not take that time until somebody's able to secure some land and we can build? Maybe every 3 months go see another city. One that gives you a greater perspective of the country, and you can really see. You can even see the differences in these different areas in the country. I mean, it's a major difference between Arusha and Dar es Salaam. And really, Arusha made me appreciate Dar es Salaam. As far as what they have to offer. You know what I'm saying? But you won't know that until you leave, because when we first got there, we still had the kinks of America. So looking at Dar es Salaam, you don't really get to experience really what Dar es Salaam offers until you leave Dar es Salaam, and then you come back. Same with Arusha. Arusha is a great place for isolation. You want to get really away from the city life and all the noise and stuff like that. That's a great place. An even better place is Moshi. You know what I'm saying? So you have these different places if you're there mentally to do that. And like Sis said, like if you're not really ready, like you still got to. I'm being honest with you. I look at Dar es Salaam as a transitional area. I think it's a place you can transition. Still kind of get that city life, but still kind of get that African feel at the same time. Just enough to really have a place to heal. And then when you're ready to level up your healing, then you go out to places like Arusha. Then you go to places like Tonga, Moshi, even Tonga. Tonga is beautiful, very beautiful. You know what I'm saying? But if you stuck in the lights in the city of Dar es Salaam, you're not gonna know that. I know some people think it's beaches, but there's beaches in Tonga. You ain't gonna know that till you go out there, because I didn't know that till I went out there. When I first heard Eliana tell me, I'm like, there's beaches in Tonga. All I saw was mountains and fruit trees and things of that nature. But I had to go out there to go see it. So I think for those who've been there long enough, you definitely should start expanding out. You definitely should start expanding out and seeing what it's to offer, because we're going to have to come to a point where we settle, right? And we're not naive that some of the issues that's going on in the world will come to Tanzania as well. And that means at some point we're going to have to live off grid, right? But if you're stuck in the city and you're not taking your time to learn the rural life, to learn the village life like the locals have lived, then you're going to have an extremely hard time transitioning to that life. But we're going back to that life, whether people like it or not. We're going back to the life. So I would definitely say yes. You should definitely expand your horizon.
Okay. Now, Brother Mika, I want you to answer that question on the screen there, because I know you came out with a large family. So somebody's asking, what's the advice for those with children?
I guess from what perspective, I'm going to take you talking about traveling. So I'm going to answer from that perspective. With children, with us, it was about knowing where your children were mentally. One of the big things that we watch before coming is families with children, and we watch all perspectives. We saw a video with one family where they just took their children and left and wasn't really thinking about the psyche of the children in that situation, and they had a good time, right? But you had another family who did the same exact thing, and it was a mother who left with her children and, you know, just didn't think about their psyche, and the children did not have a great time at all. It was a bad experience. You know what I'm saying? And they got left, and she pretty much sent them back with the father. Then you had one whose children didn't want to leave at all, and they left alone. And I'm saying that because the first thing you got to do is analyze your situation with your children. Where are they at? You know, because that, I'm gonna be honest with you, that can define your experience. It really can. And it can make it a great situation because they're on board, or it can make it a not great situation because they miss their family and their environment that you grew them up in. So you really got to know where they're at first. Once you understand that, I'm not gonna sit here and say it's easy. We were traveling with 6 children, and that right there, I ain't gonna lie to you, I'm not one who quits at anything. But we had a major experience going to Chicago, and at that point, I'm like, man, is it worth it? So it was definitely a tough situation, just because, I mean, dealing with children, you know, we had an infant at the time, having to change the diapers, and just everything with the airlines that can go wrong. When I say everything that can go wrong went wrong, it happened to us. But when we got there, we realized why. You know, it made us stronger once we got there. So that you just got to kind of prepare mentally for that transition. That flight is definitely difficult. And then one of the key things we didn't really think about at first when we got here was trying to get with families with children. Not thinking, like, again, we just took them from their families that had children. So that's what children want to do, is play with other children. So that's another thing, examining when you're traveling, is there a family or a culture or environment where your children can enjoy it too? You know, the trip is not, when you have children, the trip is no longer just about you. It's really about them. That's the whole reason you're going to the continent anyway, is to reestablish your roots back on the continent. So it's just about having, making sure that it's an environment that's good for them too. That's the key thing. You got to make sure that it's going to be a good environment for them to grow, for them to flourish, for them to learn. So that's what I would say, is just understand the difficulties and the obstacles that you got to go through. So if you anything like me, you need to study exactly where you're going to the T. You need to get with brothers who got families like Tim, like Eliana. Who else? It's other people who got children out there that can really tell you, you know, the difficulties, or, you know, not necessarily even the difficulties, just how to transition your children. That's a major part.
Facts.
So this is gonna be our last question, then we're gonna wrap it up. As far as the diaspora goes, and we talked about the interactions between us and the locals, whether we should segregate or, unify with them. And I think the consensus was we need to heal first. We definitely need some familiarity, but we definitely cannot segregate ourselves from the locals at the same time. And I completely agree with that, because sometimes, just to go into somewhere where you hear someone that sounds like you, it just gives you comfort, when you're in a land where you don't know what these people saying. So I get that we do need that. So I think we kind of all are on the same page with that. But my last question is, like, when it comes down to the diaspora, and we have all heard that when it comes down to us, we have not been portrayed in the best light here with the government, right? And we've heard some whispers about some things that were said to the government about the diaspora. But we know that not all of those things are true, right? I do get it. Some of the diaspora come over here and they act a fool, but that ain't all of us. And how can the diaspora work together to change the perception that the government has of us? Because, like, we know we coming into their country. They don't know why all these African Americans coming here. Just all of a sudden, floodgates open up, and all these African Americans started coming to this country and other countries. But unlike a lot of the other countries that broadcast and open up the country to the diaspora. Tanzania was not one that broadcast that, but they had an influx of us here. So I know for them, it's kind of challenging to understand what are they doing here, you know? So how can the diaspora change the perception of how we're viewed here to the government?
Beautiful, beautiful question. I think that goes right back to what I was saying is that, again, when you see somebody courting and they go through the marriage, each partner is bringing gifts, right? We're trying to unite the two sticks, right? Well, you got to have a stick to unite it, right?
Right.
So I believe, because think about it, a lot of the things that you hear us complaining is us messing up stuff, destroying stuff, complaining, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I think is, it's clear, it's very clear that we just can't go with words. I think that's clear. We just cannot go with words. We cannot go with just certain documents or anything. They want to be able to see it. What are you doing here? You can't say, oh, well, y'all sent me back. Right now, they don't care about that. They want to know why you are here. They want to know why you're here. So it's about showing them, right? Showing them our works. We gotta we for those who not into that nonsense and doing that foolishness, we gotta show them our works. Right? He said, show me your faith, I will show you my faith by my works. But we gotta show them our works, and we gotta, I mean, the reality is we have to build something. We have to show them that we're pouring into the community and not taking. Because I've heard that. I've literally heard that's why, some brothers and sisters would rather work with Muzungu than us, because we'll sit here and take and complain and cheat them out, and the Muzungu have no problem pouring in. Now, we know they got an agenda behind why they pouring in, but they don't care about that as long as they getting fed, right? So we have to show them not only are we not going to do it as far as Muzungu giving and taking, but we're here to literally just give, and we all benefit off of it. So I think we have to just show them. We got to bring receipts. Like, look, this is what we've been doing. This is what we did. This is what we did. So we're not here to take your country. We're not here to change y'all or nothing like that. We're here to add value to you.
Right.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I agree completely. I think it can be done on two layers. Of course, there's a personal layer as far as how you interact with the people that you come across on a daily basis, because I think that goes a lot farther than we can imagine, especially in Africa, where everything, till Tanzania, I know for sure, is like it's very much word of mouth, like how one person experiences you can end up being how the entire community perceives you. So I think the one layer is that personal interaction. I think the second is also that level of unity, as Mikael is saying, like committing actions on a collective level. And I think that what can benefit us is having a unified mindset of what it is that we're doing here. I think actually having works where we're helping the community, or working on roles, like whatever it is we can do, once we have that sense of community, which I think led up to, we've talked about how that it takes steps to get there, but once we get to that step where we can find ourselves operating on a more communal level, then on a communal level we need to be pouring back into the communities. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of things that can be done, like we've talked about. Like there's roads like on right outside your house that like 5 guys could come together, put a little bit of money together and get some cement and like pave that road out. It wouldn't be hard at all. So little projects like that people start to see that I see not only one person, but a group of these people are pouring back into communities. The more we do that, the more we have that mindset of giving more than taking. What can I get from Africa? What can I gain? But more of what can I give here? What, according to the resources I have, what can I pour into? And then actually serving in that way, I think that will start to create and shift that perspective, or that perception of why the diasporans are there right now.
I love it. And both what both of you guys said is I think that's the key. That's definitely the key to working together in those areas to show like don't like they say don't talk about it, be about it. So coming together and doing those things and not always looking for something in return.
Right.
Like it don't always have to be that you got to get paid for doing something that you see needs to be done, right?
Exactly.
So just taking that mindset, throwing it out the door, and working together to we are our brother's keeper, right? And the Bible tells us to take care of the orphans and the widows. So it's so many different areas where we can come together and show them that we're here to add to the country, but also in business aspects and everything like this, starting businesses together, hiring the local people and different things like that. It's so many different areas where we can add to the country. The country has a website, okay? You can literally go to any city in Tanzania and they have a list of things that they are looking for in every area,
Right.
gaps in the market, things that they need. Like, I agree. If we can just get together and do these things and not just say, oh, yeah, that's a great thing that you're doing. Like, I appreciate your encouragement, but where's your support? You know, I appreciate that you like what we're doing, but how about you come and join with us so that we can accomplish this a lot faster? Like it's different things like that different people are doing. So if you're connected to a project or whatever that somebody is doing, join with them. Let's see, how can we get together for the ones who have been here? You're like, you know what, I'm thankful the Most High has healed me in a lot of these spots, these areas in my life that I needed healing. Now how can I get to work? What do you want me to do, Most High? I agree that we do have to come together and do something. You know, we can't just keep sitting here and want to be accepted, but not doing anything to show that we're worth being accepted over here. That we're not the same as every other nation that comes over here and just take. You know, so I think that's definitely the key.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and we know that we are called to be our brother's keeper. So it's like if I'm chopping it up with Brother Mikael and he's like, you know, I've been praying, I've been fasting, and the Most High said he wants me to do this. And then I'm praying and I'm fasting. I'm like, Most High, what you want me to do? And the Most High says, I want you to support what I told Brother Mikael to do. Okay, so now let me go to Brother Mikael and say, what can I do to help you? And I think a lot of times people don't want to humble themselves because they want to be in the limelight. They want to be at the forefront of stuff, but they don't understand the reason why the person that's at the forefront is in the forefront, because that person didn't want to do it. That's why the Most High chose him, so he gets the glory. He's not looking for people that want to try to steal his shine. He said, I'm a jealous God. And too many people want to try to steal God's shine. They want the glory, and that's not what he's looking for. He's looking for who has a humble heart, who has a servant's heart, who's willing to put themselves down to accomplish my business. Because listen, that's our only job, is to be about our Father's business. Stop worrying about what you want. The only thing you should want and your heart should desire is, Most High, how can I help to make what your word was sent forth to do? How can I do what I'm called to do to make sure that that happens? Okay, so I need to, Mikael needs somebody to go pick up some wood so he can build this for this school over here. All right, I got a truck. I'm going to go pick up this wood. Not when Mikael asks, hey, you know anybody got a truck? Knowing I got a truck. Nah, bro, I don't know nobody. Or you just don't say nothing. You sit there twiddling your thumbs instead of speaking up because you don't want to help out, because you like, well, you know, he's at the forefront of this. He gonna get the glory. The Most High is supposed to get the glory in everything. And so it's all about him. And as soon as we learn to stop worrying about ourselves and just focus on him, everything works out. Everything works out. You know, really quickly before we close out. Oh, my bad. I apologize. Go ahead, Brother Miles. Go ahead. You said you was getting ready to say something.
Oh yeah, no, you kind of brought it out very well. Just the idea of being a servant. I think is what that aspect really comes down to. Like, and you can be a leader, and you should be a leader and be a servant. Like that's what the best examples we've seen, even biblically and historically, right? Like David was one of our greatest kings, but he walked amongst the people. He didn't want to put himself above anyone or in front or in the limelight, but he was there to serve. And secondly, I was just going to suggest some ideas, because um, I think we see that we have the ability and we have like congregated. Like I've been to Shabbats with like 20, 30 people. 20, 30 people, we could go do a beach cleanup. You know what I'm saying? Like we could go rent a truck for really cheap and just do some trash pickups in somebody's neighborhood. Like we could work on roads. And I think these things, as far as like affecting the community, I think will make waves because those things are really noticed. So if we even take one Shabbat and say, okay, instead of us just sitting in one house for 10 hours, like let's take this Shabbat and let's go to the beach and clean up the beach. Like imagine how much more of an impact that could make, in addition to what we're already doing when we just want our own downtime. So it comes down to being a servant and then using the resources that we already have, not necessarily waiting for Yah to be like, to bring something to you, but then saying, okay, well, what do I have available to me now? Like Shabbat is coming to mind now because it's just the only thing coming to mind. But like we have 20 people that we be meeting up with every Saturday or whatever day you do Shabbat. All right, instead of just meeting at the house, let's decide this Shabbat we're gonna do something collectively. And I'm sure maybe 20 people won't show up, but if even 10 show up, you know what I'm saying? Like the effort of getting something done, I think will go a lot farther because at some point we want to elevate from having the conversation to start putting the conversation into action. You know what I'm saying? So um, I definitely look forward to like wanting to enact that more when I'm back in the country. But just suggesting ideas for those who are there right now.
Gotcha. So real quick before we close out and just get closing statements, I just want to answer this question for Cam to Player. So what do we have for seniors? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm never going to lie to you. Right now, other than some nice beaches, there's really not anything here in Tanzania. Like Brother Mikael was saying, it's not as structured here as in other African countries. But I'm glad you asked the question because that's something that we can collectively here on the continent talk about. Is because one of the questions earlier is what can we do to prepare for those who are coming? So I want to thank you for asking the question because now that's a discussion we can have here on the continent. Like, okay, we do know there's going to be some of our elders coming over here. How can we make it an easier transition for them? What things can we provide for them that will make their transition easier? So we're gonna work on that for you, Cam to Player. And like I said, thank you for asking that question. But now, Brother Mikael, when you was in Arusha, was there a large community of seniors there?
I'm not gonna say it was a large community of seniors, but I will say that it was a quality group of seniors. That if y'all know who Mama C is from the Black Panther Party, she's out there.
Right.
They actually have a center out there that they host people in if you need it. They do a lot of free events out there. And they do have a small group out there that they always have in these family community events, whether that be meeting up at a pool, meeting up at a restaurant, and they're having these discussions and sitting down and trying to figure out as a collective what they can do. There's I would say there's a quality amount of seniors out there that's trying to pour into the youth out there and get us together. So I think Arusha would be actually a good place for seniors, especially if they won't have seniors that's like-minded around them.
Right. All right. So, Brother Miles, you got any just in the last minute? You always got some good comments to leave to make people ponder on some things. You got anything you want to say to the people?
I don't know if I got nothing like deep, but something that just came to mind while Brother Mikael was talking about what's going on in Arusha. is how much we actually need more stuff like that too. You know, like we don't always need to be meeting up on these like somber or serious notes. Like we need to be having cookouts. You know what I'm saying? We need to be having like some family reunion type vibes. Like some, you know what I'm saying? Like really having, not forgetting that we're still human beings. You know, we're still people, and with all the knowledge that we have, we also have to balance that with also maintaining that we're here and we're alive and we're living in order to actually facilitate building like the relationships that we're talking about. So something I would also encourage is that, you know, as a people who are on the continent, that we also start meeting up just on like a basis of fun and enjoyment, you know, because I think Yah works even more so sometimes in those spaces as well. When people are relaxed or when people are happy, when people are inspired, you can find that so much can come from that, you know, as opposed to only ever meeting on, I guess, more serious things when we're talking about lawyers and this and this and that. You know, all that's very much important. But I think I would have definitely liked to see a balance, and I yearned for a balance, and also being able to just be like, all right, bro, well, you know, like what event is happening this week? You know, like are we going to the beach to hang out? Where we eating at? Where's the music at? You know, like we are cultured people. You know what I'm saying? So let's not forget that. So that's just something that came to mind because I like the idea of what seems to be happening in Arusha, where they're having consistent events, you know, to engage people, to give people spaces to congregate, without necessarily putting a requirement or context over it, other than just coming together in light and in love and in enjoyment. And I'm sure a lot of beautiful things come from that.
Hallelujah. What about you, Brother Mika? Any closing statements?
Um, I would say come as a child. You know, come as a child, and don't make anybody's story or testimony your story. Because everybody is different. I'm telling you this. I'm telling you this from experience. Everybody's story is different. You may hear a horror story, you know what I'm saying? But my question would be, if the Yah sent you here, why are you having a horror story? What are you doing? See, we don't never
Right.
really ask ourselves that type of question. Why, if Yah sent you, why would He then allow you to go through that? You know, so
Facts.
as my elder would say, can a man put his bosom to the fire and then not burn? You know, we gotta realize that we are here for a purpose. And so don't let your pride get in the way of your purpose. And the way you function in that purpose is walking as a child with God. That's really, I don't care if you go to Tanzania, Ghana, Freetown, South Africa, Ethiopia, Israel, wherever you're gonna go. If y'all not in the forefront, it's not gonna work. It's just not. So put y'all first, become like a child, and be ready to come home. Because it's going at some point, a lot of people will get a chance to come home. They will get the choice to come home. And when your ticket is pulled, make the choice.
Hallelujah. Isha G, what about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that when you come home after you have had time to relax, you've had time to consult the Most High, you've had time to take a deep look into yourself and allow Him to remove a lot of the stuff that we have built up inside of us from actually being born, raised in Babylon, being birthed in Babylon, America, the European nations. You're going to get to a point when you're ready to branch out. And when you get to that point,
attention, your battery is running low. Please plug in the power adapter now.
oh, I don't know who that was. But just don't be afraid to connect with people who are like-minded, right? Let's do more than support each other with our voices. Come together. Let us come together with other people, because you're going to meet other people here. It's a lot of people, you know, they have YouTube channels and different stuff. Let us start joining together and getting the work done here, because all of us were sent here for a purpose. And once you find out that purpose, the Most High, He's going to connect you with people who have the same vision. and it's time for us to actually start getting work. So that's my last little rant. Just don't be afraid to connect, with your brothers and sisters here who are already doing work and who want to do more work. And you're going to find out the ones that want to work and ones that's just sitting here just twiddling their thumbs. But be ready to work,
Yeah. And for me, I remember when the Most High first told me and my wife that we were leaving Atlanta to head to Africa. I'm going to be honest, I was scared because I was leaving everything I knew. I didn't know how we were going to get here, how we were going to survive. We did a consultation, but at the same time, we didn't really know people here like that, the relationships we had built in the US. And so we're coming to a place we were coming here to move, not to visit. We were moving here. So the first thing I decided was, you know what? Most High, if this is what you're calling me to do, prepare me for it. Prepare me, show me the issues that I have that would cause me to be a hindrance to what you want to do. I started asking before I even got here, show me those logs in my eyes so that I can be used by you the way you need me to be used, where I don't be a stumbling block. I can be that stepping stone instead of a stumbling block I don't want to trip anybody else up either. You know what I'm saying? And so I would suggest taking a look at yourself and saying, how can I be a benefit to my brothers and sisters that are on the continent already, those who are coming, and those who are watching? How can I be the perfect vessel for you to use where your light is shown and you get the glory from everything that I'm doing? Because I never want to move without the Most High getting the glory or the Most High ordering my steps. Because I think Brother Mikael mentioned it earlier. A lot of times we try to do stuff out of the will of the Most High. And so you want to make sure that you're moving in the will of the Most High. If he didn't tell you to come over here right now, you wait until that trumpet blows and he say, everybody go. But when he does tell you, be ready and know that if he's called you, then he's already prepared the way for you.
Yeah, so I just want to say this. We're getting ready to get off of here. But what I'm going to do, we're going to actually drop or do another video to just list different projects that are going on here. If you have any ideas for projects that you would like, if you're over here on the continent, I'll say that, and you have any ideas of projects that you think the diaspora should come together to work on, shoot us an email. Let's see how we can connect each other with the right people so that we can start actually doing things here on the ground. So we're going to make sure we do a video or somehow just drop a list of different things. And if you feel that you were called to that arena, then let us know so that we can connect you to the people who are doing those projects. And support is not always money, just to let y'all know, if you didn't know, support is not always money, but support is manpower sometimes. Support is ideas sometimes. Support is your experience to actually give me the wisdom that I need to accomplish these things, right? All of that is support. So I want us all, if you are here and you are watching this video and you're ready to get to work, I'm going to put it out there. Let us see how we can connect each other to the right people for the different projects that's going on. Or if you have a project that the Most High has given you, drop us an email so that we can connect everybody to the right people, right? And ultimately, the Most High is going to be the one doing the connecting, because if people ain't supposed to be a part of the project, guess what? They're not going to be a part of the project. Who he wants to be a part of these things, they will be a part of them. So we have to start moving.
Hallelujah. Real quick before I want to thank you two brothers, first and foremost, all glory to the Most High for, you guys taking some time out of your day just to drop some knowledge and just to have this conversation with us as we got this conversation started. And we, pray that this conversation continues until we see the unity happen here on the continent. I just want to take a quick minute to have both of you just shout out your Instagrams and your YouTube channels, because both of these brothers have some great information out there for you guys.
Okay.
Go ahead, Brother Mikael.
My Instagram is, I put it in the comments too, but my Instagram is the.experience. So the Edenic experience. So that's the.experience. That's my Instagram. And then our YouTube, as far as our travels and just the exposure of the African diaspora Africa period, is keeping up with the Africades. And we also have an Instagram for that. It's the same title, Keeping Up with the Africades. So you type that in on Instagram, you can follow us. So YouTube is Keeping Up with the Africades. And then again, the Instagram is the.edenic.experience.
Hallelujah.
Well, for me, I want to thank you guys as well for having us, and even creating a platform for this conversation. I think I've told you guys personally, but I really appreciate what you guys are doing as far as the work you set out to do, with the resources that you have to actually facilitate change, and support, whether it be through knowledge, through videos, as well as what you guys are actually doing behind the scenes. So I'm very proud of you guys, and I'm really grateful, even just being a part of this conversation, that you guys created this space for it. For me, you can find me on YouTube with the name that you see, Miles Carter. And on Instagram, you can find me at Unfollow Carter. And yeah, those are my socials.
Hallelujah. So thank you, brothers. You guys have a blessed day. So our YouTube family, thank you guys for taking the time out to hear this conversation with us. Please, if you guys, if there's some things y'all need to know, please, you see the email going across right there, steppingstones2home@gmail.com. Please email us and we can get this information out to you guys, because we want to prepare for you guys to come. So any way that we can help you guys to prepare, hit us up and we will get as much information as we can for you so that it'll make your landing spot a lot easier. So please share, and if you haven't hit the subscribe button, subscribe to the channel, and please remember to support the Dry Bones Project. Shalom.